Should we go inside?
It's awesome. The table. Whoa, they took the table. There used to be tables to sit out here and
Oh,
eat. Holy cow.
the dining is gone.
See that?
So we're here exactly where we were several weeks ago outside of this local food establishment, restaurant. We were sitting right here on this bench. Noticed that there was a dude chilling outside and I happened to be walking past and I heard him mention Detroit, Michigan. And so I was like, oh, hey, you from Detroit? And a conversation ensued and we sat here shooting the breeze with this random stranger for a solid 15 minutes. In the course of our conversation, a vehicle pulls up right here. Guy comes out and approaches the gentleman with whom we're speaking. And he says,
Hey, can I get any blues?
which to me didn't mean anything.
But for me, of course, I know that blues, he's referring to oxycodone 30s, which, or fentanyl. It's became fentanyl now because fentanyl's taken over.
Fentanyl is taking the opioid epidemic to a new level of urgency.
The number of fentanyl-related deaths has nearly doubled this year.
Fentanyl-related deaths between 2011 and 2016 increased more than 1,000%.
As a street drug, it's far more potent than even the purest forms of heroin.
Which is scary. They're stamping fentanyl as if it's a oxycodone 30. What's really scary is teenagers in like high school could get them and they think that it's an oxycodone 30 and so snort a little bit of it thinking it's oxycodone, but really it's fentanyl, which is like 200 times strong because fentanyl is 50 times stronger than heroin, and heroin's how much stronger than oxycodone.
The guy was just straight up and he's like, I've been dealing crack since I was 10.
Yeah.
And he just like owned it just in front of us. And I was just like, dude, I just wanted a jumbo jack.
Yeah.
And we just witnessed this drug deal go down like right in front of us.
But also, it's that the guy went and got in his car and took off and didn't come back because he can find the pill for $5, he knows, and so he's just gonna go drive to the next guy.
You think he was shopping around?
Oh yeah, he absolutely was shopping around.
Ryan, you've used a lot of serious drugs, right? Mm-hmm. Heroin, meth, different things that you've experimented with. What's shocking to me, you've always described it like it's on another level. Like you've got heroin, but then you've got fentanyl.
Yeah.
So what I did, because I remember you saying something to me about, fentanyl is like even more serious. I was like, okay, let me look it up. I literally looked up on the National Institute on Drug Abuse, what is about fentanyl, interesting facts. So I want to share some of those facts and get your response to those.
Okay.
They say fentanyl is a powerful synthetic opioid analgesic that is similar to morphine, but is 50 to 100 times more potent.
Yeah.
Morphine is basically heroin, but the kind they give you, like a doctor can give you in the hospital, like under the care of a trained physician.
Yeah. When you're experiencing severe pain, you're given morphine. And so that's why I always talk about fentanyl like with such caution. Like I'm so scared because it's 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. Like that's crazy, dude.
That's like saying that it's
dying all over.
Heroin on crack.
Exactly.
Like,
They say it's 50 times stronger than heroin. Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. When we talk about what a synthetic opioid is, basically it's made in a lab. It's not a derivative from opium like heroin or morphine. These are man-made chemicals that go into this, and it's specifically engineered to make it that much more powerful.
Yeah.
So next point, it says fentanyl and other synthetic opioids are the most common drugs involved in overdose deaths.
Just this last weekend, like 3-4 days ago, someone that was super close to me, one of my good friends that I went through treatment with, actually passed away from an overdose.
Along with that, it says, one of the other points says, illegal fentanyl is being mixed with other drugs such as cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and MDMA, which you said is Molly or ecstasy. It says this is especially dangerous because people are often unaware that fentanyl has been added.
Yep.
So if I understand that correctly, they're basically saying that someone who thinks they're using, a drug that they might be familiar with or even addicted to already, they go to buy and they don't realize that the dealer or somewhere along the supply chain from cartel to paisa to dealer, whatever, someone has inserted or somehow mixed in some fentanyl.
Yep.
Why do they do that?
To get them hooked.
I've also heard it's to some degree they're cutting corners, or they're either trying to get you hooked, or does it save them any money or something? Like, is it?
It can, yeah, because
it requires less drug to give the same level of high.
Way more. Yep.
Interesting. This is another little item from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. Just talks about the types of forms that it can take. That it's not just like in a pill, but it says illegal fentanyl is sold in the following forms: as powder, dropped on blotter paper like small candies, in eyedroppers or nasal sprays, or made into pills that look like real prescription opioids. Freaking crazy. So you're saying these cartels have a way to mass produce fentanyl pills, but then to disguise them to look like traditional opioids.
Yeah, to make it look like oxycodone there. They're getting the fentanyl, they pack it down. They're doing it so cheap and so easily because the pills don't have smell. Think how easy it is for them to traffic it across the border when it doesn't smell.
Really? So the dogs can't
How
even
are the
track
dogs
it?
going to sniff it? Yeah.
Wow.
Does
just traditional opioids have a smell?
Oh yeah, heroin smells strong, yeah.
Interesting.
Heroin, so I mean, fentanyl, it might have, I'm sure it does, but it's super, I guarantee you it's super hard. It's very, very hard, obviously.
Very hard for them to find?
Yeah, for them to find, yep. What's crazy about fentanyl also, another interesting fact is that, so if you drug test someone and you don't specifically have a drug test for fentanyl, it won't show up, it won't pop dirty for opiates.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so there might be tons of kids out there these days that are getting high. They're super high and they're way gone
so
on
I'm
fentanyl.
assuming there are drug tests that specifically...
Yeah, there are specific fentanyl drug tests, yeah.
So if you suspect something...
So parents, yeah, if your kids are messed up, using pills and they're still testing clean on the drug test, clean, make sure you're testing them for
might need
fentanyl
to get one
also.
Specifically.
Yeah,
okay.
Fentanyl one.
So this is just some basic information on fentanyl and how it works. It says, fentanyl works by binding to the body's opioid receptors, which are found in areas of the brain that control pain and emotions. Its effects include extreme happiness, drowsiness, nausea, confusion, constipation, sedation, tolerance, addiction, respiratory depression and arrest, unconsciousness, coma, and death.
And that's where the overdose comes. Your breathing slows down, your heart beats slow, and eventually you just have...
It just stops.
Yeah, it just stops.
So that's the next point. It specifically says the high potency of fentanyl greatly increases risk of overdose, especially if a person who uses drugs is unaware that a powder or pill contains it. They can underestimate the dose of opioids they are taking, resulting in overdose.
Yeah.
They think, oh, I know about how much heroin is going to get me high, but not kill me.
Or how much of the oxycodone pill I usually break down and snort. I usually do this much of a line of the pill. I usually just break up a little bit of the pill and snort it, and so.
And that's what's
that's
so
what
scary.
I'm gonna do. Yeah.
There's no,
telling.
Food and drug regulation. There's no nutrition facts or drug facts.
Yeah.
You're completely relying on the integrity of a drug cartel, of a paisa, and of a drug dealer, hoping that no one along the line has sullied it with a different, drug, with this potent drug, and it's just, you're just trusting that they didn't spike it with
they've put
even
the
more
right amount of
serious...
fentanyl. Yeah, they haven't put too much fentanyl, or they haven't put carfentanil in there, which is 50 to 100 times stronger than regular fentanyl. Like, that's crazy. There's even that out there.
What's crazy, what you said to me earlier. So I would think if I was a drug dealer, if I was a cartel person, I'm not going to want to go out killing my patrons. I don't want the people who are buying my goods to die off, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to want to, go out spiking my drugs so that I can go kill these people. But you said something that was very interesting about that.
If an addict overdoses and dies off of a batch of drugs, it usually will attract all the addicts to that dealer. It's just insanity.
That just shows how much how much their brains are altered when they're in that state of addiction. This next point says that Naloxone is a medicine that can be given to a person to reverse a fentanyl overdose. Multiple Naloxone doses might be necessary because of fentanyl's potency. So it's called Narcan or Naloxone.
Yeah.
So that might be something to consider if you know someone, or if you're ever around people that you know
Are addicted to
might be
opiates.
addicted.
Absolutely have
Have it
naloxone
on hand.
On hand, yeah.
Might save a life. Have you ever had that administered to you?
I have not.
Have you ever heard stories of like someone that you know that was revived by it?
Oh yeah, tons of them. Yeah, I have a friend that literally was kept alive by a lady doing CPR.
So you were there for this?
Yeah, I drove. Yeah, so I was with my buddy, and he overdosed with me, and I had to drive him to this apartment complex. And I get out and run inside, ask anyone if they know CPR, and luckily a lady did. She runs out, get my friend out of my truck, and she does CPR on him until the ambulance could show up, and then they gave him 2 doses of Narcan, and
he was able to survive.
Yeah, he came to.
Wow. The final point that they mention, and this is something that I think is really important for us to focus on, is it says medication with behavioral therapies has been shown to be effective in treating people with an addiction to fentanyl and other opioids. Now, obviously, this is not something you want to mess around with, but if anyone has become addicted or is using this kind of drug, I think it's important for them to know that there is hope, that there are remedies that can help them to get out of it.
There's so many forms of help. It's just a matter of realizing that you have a problem and wanting to change,
This is heavy stuff. This is just not, here's the thing. It's not fun to talk about, and it's like, why would we make videos in my backyard about drugs? Because this is the world we live in. This is the reality we're facing. We went to freaking Jack in the Box down the street, and there was a drug dealer sitting outside dealing blues.
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes of being at that Jack in the Box, I was pulling into my driveway, and I felt like I was in a different world, but it was right here.
Yeah.
Whether we acknowledge the reality or not, this is what we're facing. That this drug exists, that it is just tremendously potent and therefore extremely dangerous and addictive. And so we thought, we got to talk about this.
Yeah. Fentanyl is out there. It's just flooding the streets.
Don't mess around with it.
Yeah, don't. Yeah.
Avoid it.
Avoid it at all costs, and educate your kids about pills and the side effects, what can come from it.
I think that's an important closing message to leave you with, to leave people with, is that recovery is possible. We love you. There's hope. Don't give up. And life is good on the other side of addiction.
Yeah.